Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in on this fine Wednesday morning to the Guadalupe Radio Network, KATH 910 AM. My name is Dave Palmer, and I am out and about in Hearst today with a live remote broadcast, and Dr. Kyle Eberlein and his wife Martha here at Mid-Cities Dental, where we are broadcasting this morning for the next hour. We're going to be talking about the North Texas Catholic Men's Conference, of course, with Dr. Kyle about Mid-Cities Dental. They've been a sponsor for many, many years. We appreciate them very much. He's my dentist. He's my wife's dentist. In fact, he's done some work on my wife. His colleague did recently, and been very pleased here at Mid-Cities Dental. Also, we are going to talk about Martha Eberlein's experience going to El Paso on a mission trip, okay? And so she's going to join us here in about 15 minutes or so. And as if that wasn't enough, YCP Fort Worth, Young Catholic Professional Fort Worth member, Brian Thatcher. He's also the database manager at Good Shepherd Parish in Colleyville. He's going to talk about his experience with the young Catholic professionals. You know, Jen Baugh comes in often and talks about this amazing group that's helping young people in their 20s and 30s remain in the faith, learn the faith, and also get excited about being disciples of Jesus Christ. And then stay tuned, because at the very end of the hour, I'll introduce you to a gentleman, also a Good Shepherd parishioner, Matt Vaughn, who is a pilot who travels around the world, as most pilots do, and he doesn't just travel around for his job. He goes to Mass in all these various countries, including China, including various countries in Europe, and he has a real broad Catholic experience, universal experience of the Mass throughout the world. You know, I've been to Mass in maybe 2 or 3 countries in my life, and so he's really got an interesting perspective, especially in China, where he can give us a little bit of insight into the somewhat complicated situation with the church in China. So Matt will join us at about 1:15 and support great sponsors like Mid-Cities Dental. All right, so that's what we're doing here, and let me get right to our first guest. Dr. Kyle Eberlein is one of the owners here, and like I said, a sponsor, and his website, midcitiesdental.com. And with him is his friend and my friend and fellow sponsor as well, Bob Duane. We had a live remote at my mutual of Grapevine here recently, so I'm among friends. Gentlemen, good to see you. Thanks for, I don't know about thanks for being here. Yeah, this is kind of your place, Dr. Kyle.
Well, we're glad you're here, Dave.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about Mid-Cities Dental in more than 30 seconds, because people hear you and Martha on the air for 30 seconds at a time. Tell us about your practice.
Well, first of all, Dave, I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited about being a sponsor for a long time now. Can't talk good enough about how great the radio is and the patience that we have from the radio. In fact, I want to just briefly say that, what's interesting I find with Brian and Catholic young professionals is we've been getting a lot of new patients all over Dallas, Fort Worth that listen to the radio, and they're in their 20s. Mm-hmm. And, you used to think, oh, it's just probably older people that listen to the radio and stuff, but it's not. Mm-hmm. It's young people that are coming in and they're excited about their faith, and so our practice has really been growing quite a bit, and with our huge Catholic population that come here, a lot of young families.
Now, let me ask you a dentist question, okay? Because typically with regular medical issues, the older you get, the more medical issues you have. I mean, that's just kind of the way it goes. So if you're a heart surgeon, you're probably not treating a lot of 10-year-olds. My experience with dentistry is that it's kind of the opposite. I had many more dental issues, at least cavities and things like that when I was a kid, and fewer as an adult. Is there a certain age where people tend to have more dental issues?
Well, what's really interesting, what's happened is that through preventative dentistry, a lot of kids are not having the issues that they had, let's say, when you and I were kids. What's really happening is the elderly population are the ones that are getting the majority of dental problems. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is side effects from medicines or side effects from different illnesses, cancer treatment, things of that nature. A lot of it deals with dry mouth problems and sleep apnea and all kinds of stuff.
It's all interrelated, isn't it? All right, well, if you want to be like me, and gosh, who doesn't, right? You want Dr. Kyle Eberlein, and you're a co-dentist here. What is her name again?
Oh, we have Dr. Bijal Patel is here with us, and then we also have, we've been blessed with another office now called Day Spring Dental, where we have another good Catholic dentist, Dr. Jackie Clavin, working with us.
Oh, wow, expanding, huh?
So, yeah, we have patients now coming not only to her Hurst, but also to Bedford.
And people do say, "Hey, I heard your spot on the radio." And and I'm going to get Bob Duane in the conversation here because 3 days from now there's this incredible event, and I'm so excited because this thing's almost sold out. And so if you're a man 18 and over, and you want to go to the North Texas Catholic Men's Conference, boy, you procrastinated long enough. You need to get on the ball and get your tickets. And I'm going to be the MC. We got some great speakers. We'll talk about that in just a second. I love the spots that you have on the radio because you talk about Saint Apollonia. And I know people have heard about this. At the end of one of the spots, Saint Apollonia, pray for us. It's just so amazingly Catholic to be asking for the intercession of the saints. Tell us about Saint Apollonia.
Well, Saint Apollonia was a martyr. And when in Egypt at that time, I think Philip the Great at the time, and anyways, in her case, she wasn't willing to change her faith to paganistic type things, and then of course had all her teeth removed forcefully, unfortunately, but she martyred herself by throwing herself into a fire rather than converting or trying to do what the pagans wanted to do. So she was very, very devout in her faith, and so she became the patroness of dentists. And so as a Catholic office, I just feel like, you know what, I'm not afraid to live our faith and promote our faith, and we're going to do it at work, and we're going to do it at home. So. All
right, so St. Apollonia, please pray for us. And again, I went on Wikipedia and did a little research on her, but you've pretty much covered it as far as the history of St. Apollonia, so thank you very much. Dr. Kyle Eberlein here, and we are at Mid-Cities Dental during this hour, and we're broadcasting live. A lot going on, a lot of great guests to get to. But we want you to come on out here and visit us. Martha has brought Chick-fil-A food and orange juice and coffee. 556 West Bedford Euless Road, Hurst, Texas, 76053, between Hurst View and Precinct Line in Hurst. Bob Duane, the owner of My Mutual Mortgage, along with Dr. Kyle as well. And big event coming up here in 3 days, St. Patrick's Parish in Dallas. And things are going really well, isn't it? This is exciting.
It's very exciting, Dave. Thanks for having us again. And that's the parish you grew up in.
It is, yeah.
I was an
altar boy there. Yeah, it's gonna be sentimental for me. I mean, to be there again.
That's awesome. Well, we have 51 tickets left, and normally a few days ahead we have somewhere between 100 to 150 people buy their tickets. So
yeah.
If you are procrastinating, stop. Right now, go to NTXCMC, that stands for North Texas Catholic Men's Conference.org, or if you're driving, you can remember this, CatholicBrothersForChrist.com.
Mm-hmm.
Either place, the registration pops up, register, get your ticket, and we'll have a seat for you. We have incredible speakers. Kicking off is Bishop Burns, and he is so excited about the turnout and the people that are coming. Then we have Patrick Coffin coming in from California. Of course, he was scheduled last year, and his father passed away, so we're excited to have him this year. And we have Father Mitch Pacwa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's going to be power-packed. We've got adoration. And the conference starts at 9, but at 8 o'clock there's a Mass. So come early. Registration starts at 7. We'll have coffee and donuts. Come to Mass at 8. We'll have Mass. We're going to sing a Divine Mercy Chaplet after that. Then we officially start at 9 o'clock. You're the MC. It is just going to be power-packed. We'll be done by 3.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a man out there. And if you're a wife listening, this is the time to sign your husband up.
Yeah,
and it's $45 today. It's $50 at the door. And I don't think there'll be any tickets left at the door.
You know, and Saturday is my work day. I like to relax as much as possible on Sunday and get my work around the house done on Saturday. So some guy's thinking, I got work to do. I got to do this or that or fix this. You get down to there at 3 o'clock. You got the rest of the day, buddy, okay? So just come and dedicate those 6 hours to building yourself up and other men, because, iron sharpens iron. NTXCMC.org is the website. I was over at Most Blessed Sacrament Parish in Arlington on Sunday, and I was inspired to say, as selling raffle tickets and talking about Catholic radio, this is a difficult time in the church, and we probably all have friends or family members that are saying, you know what, I'm cutting and running, I'm out of there, I'm not going to be Catholic any longer. And the message I said was, I'm going to die Catholic, and I'm not leaving. And I think that's one of the messages that men and women need to say is that I'm not going to abandon the church. I want to learn the faith, and I want to strengthen other people. And there's so many reasons to be strengthened in our faith rather than considering cutting and running, right?
And the theme is strengthen the brothers. And
Yeah.
we got that directly from Bishop Burns a year ago when he was complimenting what we were doing and said we need to strengthen the brothers. And that was before all the stuff that has happened this year. And again, he's our kickoff speaker, and he's on fire for strengthening the brotherhood. And that's a great reason we're going to have a sellout.
That's awesome. That whole church is going to be filled. And so, gentlemen, if you have not bought your tickets yet, please go to ntxcmc.org, as in North Texas Catholic Men's Conference, ntxcmc.org. Real quickly, Bob, there's the talks, and that's sometimes a big draw. But even more important than the talks is the fact that men can adore the Lord during that time. They can receive the sacrament of reconciliation. There will be some time for praise and worship, lunch.
Chick-fil-A again.
Yeah,
It was
Chick-fil-A.
so
That's right. If you
popular
didn't get
last
enough
year.
this morning. So those are. I mean, there's a lot going on in 6 hours, isn't there?
There is, and it's going to be power packed. And the other thing is, you'll meet other Catholic men and be able to build a bond. And one thing that this is our 8th conference, and this year we're going to have resources. So if you're coming and you're 1 or 2 or 3 people from a parish, and right now we have 100 different parishes represented.
Oh, wow.
Over 100 parishes.
Is that a record?
It's close to it.
Yeah.
And we will be giving resources that they can go online and go back and start a men's group in their parish to build the ministry of men. This is not just a conference; it's a movement.
And as we are about to introduce Martha, Dr. Kyle's wife, I just want to remind, and I know Martha would echo this as well, women, if you're listening, this is the hour when Women of Grace is on, so naturally you're going to have a lot of women listening. Encourage your husbands to go. I think a man that goes to a conference like this gets more serious. A more serious Catholic man is a better husband, is a better father. I know, we'd all agree. We're far from perfect men, and far from, Martha would probably say, Dr. Kyle's far from perfect husband. I know my wife would say that, but we strengthen ourselves, and we get to see some good examples, some good talks, and so.
One other thing we need is, if you are a female and you're listening, we need some female volunteers.
Okay.
And you can go to the same website, and just where it says register as a female volunteer, and or lady volunteer. And they help with registration and other things, and we need more of those because of the huge sellout crowd we're going to have.
All right, very good. Bob Duane, thank you so much. North Texas Catholic Brothers for Christ. It's the 8th annual North Texas Catholic Men's Conference. Patrick Coffin, Father Mitch Pacwa, Bishop Edward Burns, I'll be the MC. You and 800 of your close male friends are going to be there. You don't even have to be Catholic to go. But we do encourage you to sign up, and as Bob said, it's going to be a sellout. It's likely that there's going to be a time when they just have to take the information off the website and say, you know what, we fire code issues here. We can't let any other guys in. So, Bob, thank you very much. Dr. Kyle as well, thank you. We're at Mid-Cities Dental this morning, broadcasting until 11 o'clock, 556 West Bedford Euless Road. It's Sweetie, but I don't think the suite's going to matter because it's so clearly the dentistry office here. There's a big sign that says Mid-Cities Dental, Hearst, Texas 76053. If you want to put it into your GPS, come on over here, and we want to see you. MidCitiesDental.com. They're a sponsor here on this station, and we want to thank Dr. Kyle and Martha Eberlein for their support of Catholic Radio. And it sounds like you guys are responding and coming out here and making them your dentists, like I have done, and my wife has done as well. Martha Eberlein is one of the owners here at Mid-Cities Dental. She and her husband Kyle are members at Good Shepherd Catholic Parish in Colleyville, and she recently went to El Paso and for a mission trip a couple of weeks ago, and she wants to talk about welcoming Christ in the migrant. So Martha, how you doing? Good to see you.
Great, thank you.
Make sure you bring that thing right around there so we can... all right, so was this a parish mission that was sponsored by Good Shepherd, or what inspired you to go?
Yes, it was a mission trip that was sponsored through Good Shepherd Catholic Community.
Yeah, I know we talked before about how this whole issue of migrants is very politically charged, and there's so much, and in a 10-minute interview we're not going to be able to cover everything, but I think one thing that everybody can agree on is that migrants are people. They're human beings, and they are to be loved. Now, the politics aside, and how many should come in, and whether the wall is built and all that, that's not the issue here. But you went out there and you actually interacted with some of these folks, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about it. What was, how big of a group went, and what was your experience?
Well, there were 6 of us that went. We drove down, and it was a 10-hour trip, and we had a great time. And we got to stay with the Columban missionary priest, and we had Father Bob, that was the one who took us around to different locations, and we met with the Border Patrol, and we met with the diocesan migrant refugee office, and they help migrants and refugees with legal problems, but there's just so many people to help.
Yeah. One of the things I love about being a Catholic, and that's not to say other faiths don't believe this as well, but I think it's one of the principal beliefs is the dignity of the human person. I mean, the moment a human being is conceived in the womb, they should be given all the protections, and the 102-year-old that doesn't have any function left, and maybe they're in a coma, is still a human being, of course, and deserves dignity. And throughout the entire portion of the life, regardless of our state or where we are, or the church has always said, let's just at least treat everybody like human beings, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what was your experience down there? Did you get to meet some folks? Any takeaways that you want to share with our listeners?
Sure. We went to different shelters, and one of them was the Annunciation House, and we were able to serve them meals. Actually, we had a group of 42 migrants come to the Columban mission, and we served them a dinner, and we interacted with them, and we just had a great time. And and they're so humble, they're just full of humility, and they're so grateful to be here. And it was just really nice being with them, and just, recognizing that, they're people, and whether they stay or not, that's not for me to decide. But, we need to love people where they're at.
Yeah, so were you working with, was it a government agency, was it a church, is the church and the government working together, or what?
Well, I think that they probably do El Paso is very unified in this whole thing. So they got a lot of things, most things covered, from, meeting the migrant right at the border, going to the immigration, and then from immigration they get let out, and then they go to the shelter homes, and a lot of them were Catholic facilities and shelters. And then at that point, they find rides for them. No, they have to have a sponsor to get into the United States. If they don't have a sponsor, they can't. They have to have birth certificate. If they have kids, the kids have to have birth certificates. So once they get in, they go to the shelters, and then the shelters will call up their sponsors and set up their rides. Most of them were Greyhound rides. And these migrants, they go from El Paso to Washington, state of Washington, or Maine. I mean, they have long, long bus rides. And then the shelter provides food for them to take on their trips, because these people jelly sandwiches and just filled up the sacks. And they get one bottle of water, and then they just have to fill it up wherever they're at. But I just found that El Paso was very unified and worked really well together. And I mean, you don't see migrants on the streets or anything like that over there. So there's a lot of order down there.
Yeah, very good. Martha Eberlein is my guest, broadcasting live, Mid-City Center. I saw a few people come in. I don't know if anybody got any of the gift certificates yet. We haven't given away any of the gift certificates yet. I'm really surprised. I know some people may be listening, and you're really far away, and you're thinking, I can't go all the way to Hearst. I'm in, Weatherford, or I'm in DeSoto, and it isn't feasible. I got to get to work in 5 minutes. I got a meeting. Well, that's okay. But if you are able to come out here, we want to see you at Mid-Cities Dental, where we're broadcasting until 11 o'clock. I still have 2 more guests that we're going to be talking about, Young Catholic Professionals of Fort Worth with Brian Tratcher, and also a pilot named Matt Vaughn, who travels the world in his profession and has had the opportunity to go to Mass in different countries, including China. The word Catholic means universal, and I'm just interested in talking to him about how similar the Masses, of course, they're in different languages, and just what's kind of the common bond among Catholics around the entire world as we celebrate the universality of our church. Well, Matt will be able to tell us about that. And interestingly, Dr. Eberlein was telling us about this Dr. Jackie Clavin. Well, that just happens to be Matt Vaughn's wife, and so it's all interconnected. You guys just kind of worked this out so well. So come on, see us, 556 West Bedford Euless Road, Suite E, Hurst, Texas, 76053, between Hurst View and Precinct Line. The website is midcitiesdental.com. If you're one of the next 4 people to come on out here, you can get a gift certificate to Corner Bakery, Chick-fil-A, or Starbucks. At least $10 each of those gift certificates. Plus you get some food and coffee and fruit and muffins and all kinds of stuff. We don't want Martha to have to, either take all this home with her or, give it to somebody else. So come on and see us. And again, if you want to buy those raffle tickets for the car on March 8th, my cell phone number is 972-757-2990. Buy 5 tickets for $100 for a chance to win that Ford Mustang. And at the end of this hour, we're going to do a drawing for 5 more tickets and 2 tickets to the Summer Speaker Series event with Father Robert Spitzer on July 18th. Boy, this is like a data dump. It's just like so much information. I can imagine people are like, what? There's a lot going on. All right, so back to our topic at hand. This is Martha Eberlein, welcoming Christ in the migrant. It is unfortunate because it's become so politicized, and sometimes even just that word migrant may just make people nervous. And it's so cool that, of course, we know as Catholics, we got to treat every single person with love and concern and compassion. Are you planning another trip, or what's the future hold now that you've been on this one?
I don't know that I'm going to go back anytime soon. Maybe next year or 2 years. I think our church does it every 2 years, so I'll just see where I'm at that point. For me, I guess what I've taken away from that is that, we just, I need to, I want to let people know that if you want to volunteer and go help, there's a great need. I mean, we walked into one shelter and they asked us all if anybody was in medical, and nobody raised their hand. And I said, well, I'm in dental. And then the sister that was in charge, she put me in charge of her. She says, okay, you'll be my nurse for the afternoon. And I was, taking in the migrants, asking them what was wrong with them, and I'm Hispanic myself, so I'm a migrant myself, so I have a little compassion.
And you're fluent in
there.
Spanish, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but I got to see families, I got to see little kids that were really sick. We were just giving them over-the-counter medications, but there's a need. If you feel compelled to go and work down there and volunteer, I highly recommend it. It really was a wonderful experience. Is
there something, somebody may say, gosh, I want to help, but El Paso in these border towns are pretty far away. I'd like to help here in Fort Worth or in Dallas or work with Catholic Charities. Is that the first thing you do, or talk to your parish, or what's their first step if they want to be involved?
Well, I think, Catholic Charities, works with the refugees and the migrants. And, I mean, there's a need for foster parents. We have good friends that are foster parents to a Guatemalan young teenager boy whose life has completely changed because, he was able to have a home here now. And, out of all the countries, I think I saw more Guatemalans than anything else. Guatemalans and Hondurans.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much. And I want to thank you for everything you do. Whenever we have with these live broadcasts, I know you have so much. And, I'm kind of surprised we haven't had anybody claim these gift certificates yet. You want to kind of run these down? And I figure we'll give people a choice, because maybe you like Chick-fil-A more than you like Corner Bakery, or you want Starbucks more than Chick-fil-A. And so you've got 4 different gift certificates for anybody who will physically come here. And if we don't give them away, then I have to take them, right? I'm kidding. I'm not going to take them. But we do want people to come by and say hello and get some food and pick up one of these gift certificates, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So $25 to Corner Bakery, $20 to Chick-fil-A, $10 to Chick-fil-A, or $10 to Starbucks. And so thank you for buying those and for offering them up. And also the food over here is available. And in the past, we've always had people that have come by and bought tickets. You can come by physically and buy tickets and get into that drawing. And then if you win, you're here, right?
That's right.
So, all right. Well, Martha, thank you for all you do. Thanks for being a sponsor. And again, the message here is welcoming everybody as Christ would. And again, that doesn't mean, we're talking about a political solution. We let the politicians take care of that. But as far as just being kind to people.
That's right.
I think that's the key, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
Good chatting with you. And we continue now. As promised, Brian Tratcher is the database manager for Good Shepherd Catholic Parish in Colleyville. And also, he is a member of the Fort Worth chapter of the Young Catholic Professionals. Their website is youngcatholicprofessionals.org. This is an organization that I have really enjoyed watching grow. I remember young Jen Baugh coming into our studio 7 years ago when she first started it, one chapter in Dallas, and now it's in like 20 chapters across the country. And I think they're even spreading around the world as well. So, Brian, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you, Dave. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm very honored to be here today. And also, if I can, I'd just like to give a shout out to Good Shepherd and also to my family and friends who are listening, especially my mom and dad, my sister Courtney, and my adorable 3-year-old niece, Sakura. Hi, Sakura. Uncle B loves you so much. I'm just so glad to be here. Like you said, Young Catholic Professionals was established in 2010. Jennifer Baugh is our founder. Absolutely an incredible organization. And I guess I'll speak a little bit just how I got involved. So I've been involved with the Fort Worth chapter since it was established in 2014. And it's such an incredible organization, Dave. You know, there's really a need, especially in this day and age, in the times that we live in, for an organization like Young Catholic Professionals. As you know, we live in a world that, our culture is increasingly secular, and the workplace in particular can often be a place that is intimidating to people of faith and even hostile at times to people of faith. And so I think it's all the more important that we have an organization like Young Catholic Professionals so that Catholics in the workforce, and especially young Catholics in their 20s and 30s, which is, the demographic that we serve.
It's also it's a time when a lot of people are leaving the church. You hear about the statistics about going off to college. Generally people are in their upper teens, 20s, leaving the church. And whenever I talk to Jen, I say, "Gosh, well, I'm only surprised it took this long to start a group like YCP." Let me ask you, if I may. Why did you join? What was the motivation, or what appealed to you about this group?
Sure. Well, Dave, my Catholic faith has been very important to me. Going back to high school through college, I was very active in the Catholic Newman Center and just being very involved in my faith. That's very important to me. And it's one of my goals, I guess, as part of my path to sainthood, to live out my faith in my day-to-day life, and that includes in my work. We're called to do everything we do for the glory of God, for the glory of Christ. And that applies as much in our work as in anything else. So for me, this is an opportunity to be in an environment where I'm learning more about how to do that from seasoned Catholic professionals, and also having those opportunities to meet other Catholics my age in their 20s and 30s, to have those opportunities to network and to grow together as a community of faith, as a community of Catholic professionals. Jen Baugh, in one of her talks I was watching from a couple years ago when she was speaking to YCP, she was basically quoting Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI, using the analogy of the rope on the mountain, and how, when you're all together on that rope on the mountain, then you kind of support each other to pull yourselves up that mountain. And so it's kind of that concept of us coming together as that community of young Catholic professionals, banding together to grow professionally and also spiritually. You have to have those things together, and to really have that community to support each other. Because it's not easy, especially today, to live out one's faith in the workplace. And so having that community of support is it's so critical.
I mentioned a time when a lot of people unfortunately leave the faith, but it's also a time when young people are making the biggest decisions of their life.
Absolutely.
Who are they going to marry? What is their career going to be? Are they going to go get that master's degree? Are they going to quit one job and start another? I mean, as the older you get, typically and hopefully you get a little more settled, and things are kind of set. But what better time to rely on not only the Lord principally and the saints, but also a band of brothers and sisters who can support you while you're making these big decisions. And I'm sure a lot of people, I know when I was your age, I was interested in marriage, and there's a lot of reasons why people would join a group like this, for business contacts, for prospective, somebody that they could court or be courted by, and also of course principally the faith development as well. So what an amazing group. Let me ask you, by the way, Brian Tratcher is with me. He's a member of the Young Catholic Professionals of the Fort Worth chapter, and also the database manager at Good Shepherd Catholic Parish in Colleyville. And the website for Young Catholic Professionals is youngcatholicprofessionals.org. You guys have these monthly executive speaker series events. Tell our listeners about that. And maybe any speakers you remember that may have, the message may have really struck you as poignant or meaningful?
Absolutely, Dave. Well, like you said, so kind of our core monthly event is our executive speaker series events, and these are free to all attendees in their 20s and 30s who are interested in coming out. Like you said, we have seasoned Catholic professionals who come and speak at these events. So kind of the typical format. And by the way, here in the Fort Worth chapter, we always start, so for our executive monthly speaker series events, which are held on the third Thursday of the month, we start with Mass at 6:30 p.m. At the St. Patrick Cathedral. And then following Mass at 7 o'clock is when the doors open for people to come in. There's kind of networking and socializing. There's food and drinks. So you have that opportunity to meet other Catholic professionals in their 20s and 30s, and to have that opportunity for networking and community building. And then at 7:30 is when we have our keynote speaker. And these are seasoned Catholic professionals in the workforce who have had these years of experience. Some of the speakers that we've had in the past include Karen Garnett, who was the former executive director of the Catholic Pro-Life Committee of North Texas, and who's currently now the VP of Community Relations at Heroic Media down in Houston, which is a big pro-life media company. Charlie Morrison, the president and CEO of Wingstop. I've had the pleasure to meet him. Very down-to-earth man. Bobby Warren, the senior VP at Williamson Dickey Manufacturing, otherwise known as Dickey's. William Allen from J.P. Morgan. Tim Haw, the founder and owner of Evergreen Companies. Nicole Havrilla, the founder and president of Whole Life Authentic Care, which is an organization that's committed to bringing pro-life health care, which is rooted in Catholic principles, to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then, of course, and so many others.
Yeah, let me ask. I'm sorry, Brian Thrasher is our guest, Fort Worth chapter of YCP, and there's probably a lot of parents that are listening right now and thinking, I want my son or daughter to get involved in that. They're in their 20s or 30s. Of course, that in itself is not enough. But what would you say to parents listening who are saying, you know what, this is exactly the group that my son or daughter needs to go to? How would they gently encourage their son or daughter to maybe at least go on the website and check it out?
Sure, and that's the thing, it's just encouraging and supporting their especially those who are in their later college years, or who are kind of just starting out in the workforce, to just get involved, and don't be afraid to take that leap of faith and to step out into this organization, because it is such a wonderful community. The people you'll meet are just fantastic. The events that we have, the executive speaker series events, getting to meet new people, and just knowing that you're not alone. You don't have to fight this battle alone. Being a Catholic in the workforce, you have other people, you have a support community here. And I think that's the important thing, is just knowing that you have that, and just taking that leap of faith to get involved, because once you get involved with it, you're going to discover how great it is.
Just a couple of minutes remaining as we continue to talk about Young Catholic Professionals. Brian Tratcher is my guest, and he's with the Fort Worth chapter. There are, I don't know if you know this one off the top of your head, I think there are 17, 18 chapters around the country, and more, from what I understand, there are more dioceses and archdioceses that are trying to get Jen and the group to expand, and of course you can only expand so quickly. Do you have that
Sure.
number off the top of your head?
So we actually have a total of 19 chapters
Oh, wow.
currently. Dallas, of course, was the first chapter established in 2010, followed by the Fort Worth chapter, which was established in 2014. And then we've got, like you said, chapters all across the nation now: Austin, Chicago, Cleveland, Columbus, Denver, Detroit, Houston, Jacksonville, New Orleans, Omaha, Orange County in California, Orlando, Phoenix, Portland, Oregon, San Antonio, San Diego, and Silicon Valley in California.
All right, let me,
and there's so much more room
Oh,
for
yeah,
more
yeah.
expansion.
A year from
And
now,
we've
if
had-
you were on, we'd probably be talking about 23 chapters of Young
Sure.
Catholic Professionals. Let me ask you one last question, and again, want to encourage everybody, whether you're in your 20s or 30s, an old guy like me, almost 52 years old. I don't have any kids in that age category. My oldest child is 14, so I'm like, you know, I don't. This doesn't apply to me directly at all. YoungCatholicProfessionals.org is the website. And Brian Tratcher is my guest. You know, you and I kind of have it easy in a sense because we work in Catholic settings. You know, I'm in
Sure.
Catholic radio, and so I can go into the office and talk about, you know, what I believe as far as moral issues, and, you know, it's not going to bat an eye. Not everybody is that fortunate. I mean,
Right.
I used to work in corporate America, and boy, you got to pretty much stay silent, and it's difficult. And so, do you ever talk to people that are working in corporate America, or is that ever addressed about how to be, as Jeff Scheffelbein's show talks about, undivided intention, where you are, not that you have to go proselytizing at work, because, you know, that's not always appropriate, but just being a Catholic man or a Catholic woman everywhere you go and not hiding it, or, you know what I mean?
Sure.
What's the formula there?
Sure. And what I would say, Dave, is really at the end of the day, it's just being authentic, being true
Yeah.
to who you are, and standing up for your principles, being true to your principles, and never allow anybody to compromise those principles. Be true to who you are as a Catholic, and don't be afraid to live out your faith, and don't be afraid to stand up for your Catholic values. And I think that's the most important thing, is just being true to that, which is obviously easier said than done in many situations. And that's where prayer life comes in, which is, you know, the other aspect of YCP, you know, is growing spiritually, not just professionally, but again, growing spiritually, growing in your prayer life. That's something that our speakers, our keynote speakers, stress time and time again in their speeches, is having that spiritual life and that prayer life, even if it's just 5 minutes a day.
All right, YoungCatholicProfessionals.org is the website. Now, I promised you this would go fast. Did it go fast?
It did. It
Okay,
did.
I told you
It's
the
really
13 or 14 minutes would be like a blink of an eye. Probably a little more than a blink of an eye.
And just one last thing for anybody who has any more questions. Like Dave said, the website is YoungCatholicProfessionals.org. For the Fort Worth chapter, it's YCPFortWorth.org. And then Christopher Wood is our current chapter president, and his email is christopher.wood@YCPFortWorth.org.
All right, man, you covered it all. Is Jen listening this morning? Do you know if she's happen to be listening?
I'm not
'Cause,
sure.
Jen, he did a great job. I think she would hear. You're going to get an email from Jen saying, "Attaboy, man, you got it." So anyways, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much,
Brian
Dave.
Tratcher, I appreciate you coming on. And
Thank you.
also thanks for your work, the database manager at Good Shepherd Parish in Colleyville. So good to speak to him. All right, with no further ado, Matt Vaughn, pilot extraordinaire and traveler of the world. How you doing? Good to see you.
Good morning, Dave. Glad to be here.
Most people don't get to experience the universal church like you do. Do you try to make it a priority, if time allows, to find a local Catholic church? Is that one of the,
I do.
I guess, hobbies, for lack of a better word?
You know, I wanted to say that because the nice thing about being Catholic is that anywhere you travel, you know, you may feel like a stranger, but you can always find a Catholic church, almost always, and you're always home. So when you go there, even a place like China, going to, of course, the official church, because the unofficial church, the underground church, would be dangerous to those members that are practicing that way. But you can go to the above ground church down to the cathedral, and you can worship there. And you'll notice that on the screen where they have the readings are the exact same readings in your USCCB schedule. And so all over the world, everybody's reading the same readings you are.
If you were to go to, and I know you said you don't do this, but if you were to hypothetically go to an underground church in China, you said that you're putting the people at risk because it's underground. Would you also be risking your ability to come back? I mean, would that be like a criminal offense?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably
okay.
would be a problematic thing, and you wouldn't want to blow anybody's cover.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the underground church is in a bad spot.
All right, Bob's telling me now 3 people have bought raffle tickets, so we're going to have ourselves a drawing here in about 5 minutes. If you want to get in on that car raffle, 5 tickets, $100. Let's get at least 5. I mean, come on, let's get 5 people in the drawing. Call Olivia on my cell phone, 972-757-2990, and buy 5 tickets for $100. Give her your credit card information, have a chance to win a car on March 8th, and also here in about 5-6 minutes, you're going to have a chance to win 5 extra tickets and 2 tickets to see Father Robert Spitzer at the Summer Speaker Series event on July 18th, 972-757-2990. I want to have a nice, calm, longer form conversation with you about this sometime if you can come to our studio. But tell me, because we don't have a lot of time, but maybe some of your experiences, maybe some things that surprised you, some of your favorite places to visit as far as churches. I know this is very intriguing.
Well, I found in Asia specifically, because Christianity has not penetrated Asia the same way that it has penetrated, of course, Western Europe and even South America. But it's interesting to go to a place that has, a church that's well over 100 years old in Asia, with the missionaries that founded it, and it's a beautiful church. One of the things that they do over there is they prevent catechesis, so they prevent people from teaching the faith, and then they prevent people from rebuilding and repairing churches until it becomes politically embarrassing. And so, for instance, this one church that I went to in Beijing had been renovated specifically because the Olympics were coming. They were going to have the world coming there, so that church is in very, very good repair. And it's interesting that right around it are all these high-end stores from that we would all recognize in the West, and then there it is this old cathedral built in 1904, which I think is the second or third iteration of a church there in that spot, because of revolutions and wars and things burning down and things like that, and there it is, and to go worship there, and it's beautiful, St. Joseph's Cathedral there in Beijing.
What about, we hear about the emptying churches of Europe, you mentioned France, and I think maybe some other European countries as well. Do you find that when you go into, I don't know if you ever go to Notre Dame or some of the churches in these European countries, do you find it's a little distressing because there aren't many people here, and the people that are there, are in their 90s, or what's your experience?
What's interesting about Notre Dame is because it's such a cultural icon. It's like the #1 thing to see if you look on the websites of the things to see in Paris. You go see the beautiful Notre Dame Cathedral, which, by the way, was used as a stable during the French Revolution, and so it was defaced, and then some of the saints' heads were chopped off of the edifice outside, and then somebody saved them so that they could be put back on after the revolution was over. But you can go to confession there in like 6-7 different languages, and it's really neat to have a priest that speaks that many languages, and you get through the confession and it's fine. Many places in Europe seem to have a small, devout population in a formerly devout country. But it's hard to gauge the faithfulness of the general populace. But I think they're very proud of their culture and about these churches. They're proud of their culture, but seems to be not many people that are practicing.
Do you get to talk to people? I know there's the language barrier, but when people find out you're an American or you're a pilot or what have you, do you get to kind of get a feel, the lay of the land from the people's perspective at all?
I think people are very friendly. They're very sweet, and mass is mass in whatever language you are. We'll say that I was also traveling with similarly with the military in Korea. And I went to Mass in Korea, and of course it was my naval officer's uniform at that time. And the chief of staff for one of the Korean fleets invited me afterwards to a potluck dinner.
Get some good food around the world, huh? Really enjoying this conversation. So yeah, Matt, what else did you want to say?
I just wanted to mention my wife, Jackie. She's Mrs. Vaughn, but she's Dr. Clavin, and she works with Dr. Eberlein at Dayspring Dental up in Bedford.
Yeah, take a minute and just talk about that relationship as far as the Mid-Cities Dental and the Dayspring Dental and how that all came about, and maybe if people are in the Bedford area.
My wife's a mother of 4, and she started that practice and ran it for many years, and then she and Kyle they came together and worked together a few years ago. And
Okay.
so, I'm sorry, Dr. Eberlein. Apologize. He's a good friend of mine. We hiked a lot together. But they run a practice, two practices in separate locations. One's in Hearst. This one's Mid-Cities in Hearst, and of course Dayspring up in Bedford. So they both practice at both locations.
All right, and we do appreciate everybody supporting our sponsors and Mid-Cities Dental, Dr. Kyle and Martha, and also his new partner, Dr. Jackie Clavin, and also all of our guests, Brian and Matt and Bob and Dr. Kyle, for coming on with us. And